This short tutorial video will show you how to create a pivot table using data from Google Sheets. Data can be input into Google Sheets from a Google form, or you could upload data from another source, or you can input the data directly into the Google Sheets. You might ask yourselves, why do I want to create a pivot table? When we have been attending TBTs, we are seeing that teachers need a quick way to put data into an actionable format. One solution is to make a pivot table. A pivot table will summarize the data from the spreadsheet. As you can see in this example, this TBT used a 5-point rubric to assess their students on a standard. This table shows the teachers in the rows, each weekly date in the columns, and the data. The data is an average of their students' rubric scores. The TBT can quickly see the student scores improve from an average of 2.1 in column C9 to 3.7 in column G9, with 5 being the highest rubric score. The instructional strategies the teachers are implementing are working as the student scores are improving. We can also compare average scores by teacher. Here is a link to the sample data that will be used in the steps following. Continue this video if you want to follow along with the exact steps on how to create a pivot table. Step 1, highlight the data you wish to include in the pivot table. Do not highlight the entire sheet. In the data menu, select Pivot Table. Click Create to create a new pivot table, and I suggest you insert in a new sheet. You'll note a new tab is created at the bottom. I am on Pivot Table 23. You will see Pivot Table number 1. On the right, you see the Pivot Table Editor. On the left, you see the spreadsheet, and by default, it is empty until you add your data. First, we will add the rows. In the example I showed you, we selected teacher name. You can see teacher name has been added in the rows. Next, for columns, let's choose the dates. And last but not least, we will choose the values. In this case, we want the writing rubric scores. Note that by default, it summarizes the data. We do not want the totals of the rubric scores. We want the average. In the drop-down menu, I'll change the calculation to average. And here we have the average. You can see some of the scores were with lots of decimal points. The others are rounded to no decimal point. We can format that data by highlighting the numbers, format, number. Well, actually, the easiest way would be to go to the increase decimal places icon. You can see I chose 1 decimal point. Now we're looking at the data apples to apples. Now that I have the data in the format that I wish, I can click off of the table and you see the report editor goes away. If I decided I wanted to add students to this data, I click back in the table and my pivot table editor appears again. Let's add another row with the students. Now you can see the students are listed under each teacher. The divisible by 0 message comes up because we had X's if the student was not scored. I can collapse these teacher names by clicking on the minus and compare each teacher side by side. Or I can expand to look at specific teachers. Let's collapse this teacher. Let's close the pivot table editor. And now another function in Sheets is we can look at data with conditional formatting. So if I highlight these rows, I can go to Format, Conditional Formatting. I can make formatting rules. Let's make a rule that if the data is less than 3.0, let's make it a pink color. I click Done. Oops, I put a 3 and a O, not a 3, 0. Click Done, and now you'll see it quickly highlights all the students that have a rubric, all the teachers that have rubric scores of less than 3.0. Expand the teacher, and we can see student by student who have low scores. At first, you may find pivot tables can be intimidating, but once you experiment and play around, you will become confident in making pivot tables while making your data easy to use to improve student learning in your TBT impact cycles. If you have questions on making pivot tables, reach out to your building technology coach and they can support you. Thank you for watching.